highlights from the discussion, but just whatever the top recommendation, the top idea, what got the most attention during the discussion, please share that one thing, and we'll get that from each of the 4 groups. And then we're going to hear some more reflections before we close. So does any group want to begin, or I can just choose one? Okay.
This was the educational committee. I'm going to hold my laptop, so. This is the educational committee. We came up with about 6 ideas, but trying to synthesize them into sort of the one overarching principle would probably be trying to figure out what youth are interested in and then helping direct them to the right path to achieve that goal, which would include better vocational and educational assessments to help them figure out what they'd be good at and what they'd be interested in, and then being able to connect them to the right resources, whether or not it's at the community college where they have a variety of programs that people might not even be aware of, or with community resources that might be able to put them in the right direction as far as their business path, and then training not only for the youth on what opportunities are available, but also for all the other stakeholders, the foster parents, the workers, and other members of the community to try to help put them on the right path.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So whoever was in the education group, can you just raise your hand so we can see who contributed to the group? All right, thank you. Thank you. The next group. And that was a great model, too, for the report.
Okay, so we did employment, and ours was actually pretty similar to education, where we talked about focusing on giving the youth more options. So allowing them to assess what their interests are and explore what their interests are through volunteer experiences aside from paid jobs, so that they can decide if that's a career that they wanted to pursue, and then looking at things beyond college so that they can figure out what they need to get them prepared for their specific job, looking at what skills they need to develop in school, and making sure that they have the appropriate advocates for them in school so that they're taking the courses that they need. And that's a lot of things that they usually talk about with guidance counselors, but it's also something that the foster parents need to be focusing on and making sure that those foster youth are taking the courses that they need so that they're ready for jobs. And making sure that they're ready for interviews, resume building, and just giving them a lot of different opportunities to explore their interests.
Thank you. And so who was a part of that group? Just show of hands. All right, thank you all. The next group.
So the housing group discussed a multiple of needs and barriers and challenges to young people seeking housing, but one of the things that we were able to hone in on was the need to start the conversation with our young people early and often about housing, not only so that our young people can begin to understand the reality of their needs and the expectations that they have, but also so that we as providers can be looking at the supportive services that might need to be in place as they get ready to support their own housing. And then beyond that, we talked a lot about beyond 21, what supportive services are needed and available in the community, or that we can be seeking to develop that will support that housing transition.
All right, thank you. And who was a part of the housing? I'm sorry, that was disorienting. The housing group? All right, thank you. And the final group.
So we were the mental health group, and the challenges that we identified were continuity of the therapist. Some people talked about when they leave the organization they're placed with, the therapist stays there and they now have to find a new one, which is a problem. And finding the right therapist, finding the one that fits what they're looking for and is actually trauma focused, because that doesn't necessarily, not every therapy model is trauma focused. So those were some of those identified. Labels came up, again, using the labels, both the term mental health, but also all the diagnostic terms. And then part of that label we talked about is what is normal adolescent developmental appropriate behavior versus what is pathological, and that sometimes because we have this label of foster youth or juvenile youth or et cetera, then everything they do, and one young lady said, like, in your normal home, you'd say no if you didn't like what was being said to you, but when you're in the system, sometimes no has to leave your vocabulary. You're not allowed to say no, and then that gets pathologized, and you got to go see a therapist. So, and we talked about alternatives to treatment, alternative treatments, and so looking at mental health being situational. You know, aging out is stressful, and so at that moment you need something, but that doesn't mean that you are depressed or et cetera. And making sure our evaluations are appropriate. And then we also talked about transparency and making sure that the system is transparent as to why and what and how we get our young people involved in that kind of counseling services. So again, the term label just popped up over and over again. Particularly, we had a lot of young people in our group. So, so I guess those in the mental health group want to stand up or raise your hand. So,
All right, thank you. So thank you all once again for your input, certainly in the large group discussion, but then also in these smaller breakout group discussions. And I especially just personally want to say thank you. And I hope the young folks who are here, and I should say youth and young adults, but that participated in these conversations really understand how valuable your presence is and your input is. And so thank you all for contributing. And I look forward to seeing the progress after today.
And at this time, Catherine Sanders will come up and share her lessons in our system. So, but Catherine is one of our many bright shining stars, as you all have heard and had the opportunity to hear from our youth today. But Catherine is in her second year at Towson University studying mass communications, and she's actually wants to be a motivational speaker, so I'm sure she'll have a lot of encouraging words for our foster youth and for all of you here today. And Catherine published an article, and my phone just died, but it was Teens Need Permanence was the title of her article, and I believe you have copies, or we can get the information so that you all can hear Catherine's words. So, Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Sanders, and I'm 20 years old. I came into the system in 2008 when I was 13 years old. At the time, I was just a young teenager who was pretty much confused about the process that I was going through, but at the same time thankful that I had been retrieved from the prolonged treatment that I had endured over the past few years. In the beginning stages, I was extremely skeptical of going into the system because of all the horror stories I've heard and even how being in care was depicted in the media. But now I can say over the years, the Department of Social Services has played a key role in my life by helping me to acquire the skills to not to allow me to become a foster care statistic. Also being removed from the environment that I was previously in into a more positive atmosphere that allowed me to learn and grow. The department has also given me the resources to look beyond my situation and somehow make light of it. In the year of 2009, the department brought me into the foster care agency Mentor Maryland, and over the time that I've been involved with Mentor Maryland, they too have provided the support that was beneficial for any youth to succeed. The department guided Mentor Maryland through my life, and that is how I am with the family I have been with for 6, almost 7 years. Being in the system may not be what anyone necessarily envisions for themselves. Of course, we all wish that we could have been born into a better situation that is not like our own, or with parents who loves us unconditionally. But for me, being in the system has served and continues to serve its purpose. Being in the system and transitioning to college was very challenging in the beginning because there was this frightening ideology lingering within me that I wouldn't do well and wouldn't get beyond community college. Looking at all the statistics of youth in care while also attempting to finish college, I felt that I was destined for failure and all the odds were stacked up against me. But due to being placed in a supportive family that continuously rendered encouragement and support, I then felt a sense of ease and desire to accomplish any accomplishment and aspirations regardless of the obstacles that were staring me down. Throughout my transition to college, the department has helped me tremendously by making sure that I had the proper funding and information I needed to register for my classes. Without them, I don't know where my college education would be today. They have definitely made sure that I was aware of my education rights with being a youth in care. Now that I have gotten through the beginning challenges of my college career, I can now say that I am comfortable for the most part, and I'm excited that I've ventured out to a new stepping stone in my life by transferring this past January to one of my top schools successfully with a 3.5 GPA at Towson University. Thank you. During my time at Howard Community College, I had learned the basic attributes of simply going after what is destined for you, and that is when I decided to knock down the barriers of doubtfulness with hard blows of self-motivation and determination. I am now an upcoming junior currently studying mass communications with the hope of utilizing this degree to become a news anchor, preferably Good Morning America, and a motivational speaker. I plan on using my voice as a way to give light to others that are in my position while also connecting to people throughout my work. I also want to motivate those that believe there isn't a sun after the rain, because I personally know how that feels. I and everyone in a similar position as myself is not a case number in black ink or white paper. I know I'm filled with purpose, and it is that very purpose that allowed me to find meaning in every struggle that I have endured. And that is what gave me the power to push through the years of emptiness, confusion, and depression. At my school campus right now, I am currently involved in the Towson Public Relations Group and her campus group, where we write articles on trending occurrences around our generation. This year, I will be officially adopted, and my strong desire is that I am an inspiration to those who feel like there's no hope for them to be adopted because of their age. John F. Kennedy once said, "Efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction." And I believe that that applies to me and to others, because we all need a direction. We all need someone to lead our way and give us leadway onto what we are to be in life. And this quote also relates to my speech in a way, because every child put on this earth has purpose, but it doesn't begin to manifest without direction. And I believe that every child in the system needs that proper, permanent direction, including me. Being in foster care doesn't sentence you to anything. You may have not had control of how your life started, but you have all the control in the world of how it ends. Thank you.
Well, I've had the advantage of being educated by Catherine in 2 transitional planning hearings. We've had one that was mild and one that was wild. But she's quite an inspiration. And today, I want to thank everyone that's been involved with the planning for this event, and the Transitional Youth Committee is listed on the back of here. I want to thank each of you for being present here today, and we don't want to be part of the problem. It's our job to be part of the solution. And I hope we're all committed to that. And I consider sitting in the housing group back there, there's not enough time. Today is an icebreaker. Today is the beginning of the conversation. We've got to bring other persons in. We've got to bring resources in. So everyone's been given an opportunity to indicate their willingness to work together. We're going to get some things. This is not going to be, we're not ending today. This is a step. And from what happened today, we know we need to take more time the next time we're together here as we work towards solutions. Today we just identified issues. We identified some of the issues. I want to thank Judge Adams. And there are some certificates that have been signed by Judge Adams and Ms. Brown. And I will let Ms. Brown invite Judge Adams up as we try to give some recognition to some of you. Okay. And we know a lot more. everybody's do a lot more recognition than we're going to be able to give, but you know, it rains on one side of the street and not the other. The line's got to be drawn someplace. But thank you.
I want to say a special thank you to Judge Martin, who, what was it, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, started this process. He and Magistrate Stuart Adams, Stuart Jones. Sorry, I was looking at both of y'all. And you know, I was just coming on as a new director, and it was just so exciting. And you know, I had heard horror stories about, you know, the judges and the courts, and none of it turned out to be true. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity to continue our work. We have a lot of work ahead of us, a lot. Did you want to say?
I just wanted to say one couple things. I couldn't be prouder of the judges and magistrates in this courthouse. You know, you hear so much about courts, but we are blessed in Prince George's County to have a court and judges that care about our community and about our young people. And that's what it's all about. So to Judge Martin and to our fabulous magistrates, all of Master Heidelman Adams, Master Jones, Master Ferguson, and all of our masters and our judge, and Judge Surratt, who's the coordinating judge of our family division. Our judges care about our young people. So I thank you, I thank you, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And thank you, young people, for thank you, young people, for being here as well. So our first certificate is for our dynamic speaker that just left the podium, Ms. Catherine Sanders. Thank you.
Judge Martin.
In the work that we do, it's always important to recognize our state partners. And Carlton, thank you so much for coming down and helping us with this. And if I sounded bitter earlier when I said Carlton was stolen, it's because I am. Thank you. Okay, Kay's gonna get a picture. Can you get us all? I'm glad I wasn't standing next to him. Well, who's going to take the picture when Kay comes to get her certificate? Thank you, Kay, for all your work on this. And finally, for our dynamic facilitator, Mr. Aronde Miller, thank you for responding to our call. I want you to cover my body. And the last two certificates are for C.T. Wilson and Senator Benson, so we will get these to them. Thank you. Oh, I get to close it out. I'm sorry. Oh, so we will be sending you all, first of all, the work will continue. There's still a lot of work to be done. I'm proud of what we've done, but I am challenged to do more and to do better. And I know that every member of my team that's here shares that, that feeling. So we know that there's a lot more work to do, but we need each of you to participate in this. I hope the group leads got names of the people in their groups. Good, because we will call on you, and we really want you to be a stakeholder in this process as we continue to make improvements for our children in care. And when they get their new name, they'll share that with me, and I'll begin to use that one. One quick shout out, I want to give a shout out to Antonio, who has been fantastic. Thank you, Antonio. This summer, he's going to be splitting his time and spending some time with the secretary. He met the secretary of DHR, who was extremely impressed with him. So he'll be spending some time up there working with the state office, take the message forward, and he'll be spending some time working in my office. So he is your voice inside the agency from the youth in care. So thank you. We have an evaluation tool that will be forwarded to you that we want you to please give us some feedback on today's symposium so that we know what we did well and what we need to improve. And so that's critical. We need the feedback, and as you can tell, we look at our data. So please, when you get that email, be responsive to it. Again, thank you all for coming. We're not that far off the mark. Please have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend for those of you who are moms and those of you who are aunts and, surrogate moms. Thank you.